Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hello Word, the podcast where we explore the fascinating world of English vocabulary. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm thrilled to have you join me today. Our word of the day is combat, a C1 level verb that means to fight against. Let's dive right in. So, what exactly does combat mean? Well, in its simplest form, combat means to actively fight against something, whether it's a physical enemy, a social issue, or even an abstract problem. It implies a sustained and determined effort to overcome an obstacle. It's a strong word, often used in formal contexts, but understanding it can significantly enrich your vocabulary. Think of it like this. You might combat climate change, combat poverty, or even combat your own bad habits. Now, let's explore some synonyms for combat. One relevant synonym is battle. For example, the soldiers battle the enemy on the front lines. Another synonym is fight. We can say the government is trying to fight corruption. A third synonym is tackle. In a sentence, the company needs to tackle the issue of declining sales. How about the word confront? Example: we must confront our fears in order to grow. Finally, consider counter. The new law aims to counter the rise in crime. Now, let's look at some antonyms, words that have the opposite meaning of combat. A good antonym is yield, meaning to give way or surrender. For example, they refused to yield to the demands of the terrorists. Another antonym is surrender. The army decided to surrender after suffering heavy losses. Then we have retreat. An example sentence: the troops had to retreat to a more defensible position. Another antonym to consider is submit. He chose to submit to the authority of the court. Lastly, we can use capitulate. For example, the rebels were forced to capitulate after months of fighting. Now, how can we use combat in everyday life? Well, you might say, I'm trying to combat my procrastination habit by setting small, achievable goals. Or perhaps the city council is working to combat homelessness by providing more affordable housing. You could even use it in a more metaphorical sense, like she had to combat her nerves before giving the presentation. Let's delve into some more specific usage examples. You might hear phrases like combat troops, referring to soldiers actively engaged in fighting, or the combat zone, which designates an area where fighting is taking place. We could say the government launched a new initiative to combat cybercrime. Another example: doctors are using new therapies to combat cancer. And the athlete is training hard to combat fatigue during the marathon. Also consider, the organization is dedicated to combating social injustice. A few more examples to solidify your understanding. The lawyer will combat the false accusations in court. The scientists are trying to combat the spread of the disease. It's important to combat negativity with positive thinking. The politician promised to combat poverty in the region. The company uses innovative strategies to combat competition. We can also use it in sentences like, the firefighters continue to combat the raging wildfires. The environmental group is determined to combat pollution. To combat stress, he started practicing yoga and meditation. The community came together to combat the rising crime rates. The school implemented new programs to combat bullying. She had to combat feelings of self-doubt before starting her own business. The government is working to combat the spread of misinformation. The company is developing new technologies to combat climate change. He used his wit and charm to combat the awkwardness of the situation. The teacher encourages students to combat their fears of public speaking. The police are working hard to combat drug trafficking in the city. So, to recap, combat means to fight against, and we explored synonyms like battle, fight, tackle, confront, and counter. We also discussed antonyms such as yield, surrender, retreat, submit, and capitulate. Remember, combat can be used in various contexts, from physical fights to metaphorical battles against problems and challenges. Thank you for joining me on Hello Word today. I hope you found this exploration of the word combat helpful and informative. Now for a quick call to action. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your support helps others discover our show and learn new words. And here's a fun challenge. Create your own sentence using the word combat and share it as a comment under this video. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Until next time, keep learning and keep exploring the wonderful world of words.